Welcome friends. In this video, we are going to make an Aladdin game with plain React.js and Tailwind CSS. We won't be using any SDK or game library. We'll just code logic in plain React. Okay. So let me show you how this game looks. So Aladdin moves. Okay, so as you start moving, an background audio starts playing. There is some background of desert and castle and some obstacles or rocks that come Aladdin's way, and Aladdin on a flying carpet has to dodge them, and the score increases. Okay. Okay, so when Aladdin collides with the rock, then the game is over. So this is a very good game for learning and to add to your own portfolio. So code with me, and even if you don't like to code along, you can just see and watch, and you will understand that it is not very difficult to build and quite simple, right? You can then learn of different coding patterns in coding advanced logic in game. Okay, so let's start. I have created a new white project and started my server. I've also installed and set up Tailwind CSS because we will be using it to style this game. You can easily set up Tailwind by referring the documentation. You just need to run 2 commands and it should be good. So let's check out our code, right? So here is our app.jsx. I've removed everything, and we will be importing this game component which we'll create in this tutorial. Okay, apart from this, I've imported the Tailwind libraries in the index.css file and replaced the default code here like this. In the app CSS file, I've added an animation and I've imported a font family and applied it to the body. So you can pause this video and type out this if you want, or you can just find it in the GitHub source code. Okay, so now let's begin by creating the game component for our game. So we'll define game.jsx first, right? Now here we'll import a few things. Okay, we'll just refer them when we need them. Okay, so first we'll need to define some variables or constants for our game. Okay, so the first one is the game height, the window of the game height. So we'll set it to let's say 700. The next one is game width, you guessed it, right? Sorry, game width, and we'll set it to 1100, right? After that, we'll have another variable called carpet size. So this is to define the size of Aladdin's carpet, okay, on which he floats or flies. So size will be 100. And last variable is weapon size, the weapons that Aladdin would need to dodge. So this weapon size, let's just set it to 40 to make it small and playable, okay, while still challenging. So now let's create the structure for our game component. We'll use const game and arrow functions to define it, braces and return. And then first of all, let's export default this game component like this. Okay, now we need to define a few state variables. The first one is carpet position. So this is the Aladdin's current position, or Aladdin's carpet's current position, which will change when a player presses up or down arrow keys. Okay, so carpet position equals useState. So this is how we import useState in React. It's a hook to define state variables in functional components. Okay, and we'll pass an object as initial state. This object will be nothing but the coordinates of the carpet position. Okay, so it will have x and y. Now the value of this x, let's give it just 100 to be on the left side of the window, and y, let's make it so it's in the center vertically. So we'll do game height divide by 2 to center it. Makes sense, right? So if you have any doubt, don't hesitate to ask the question in the comments. There aren't usually many comments on my videos, so I'll reply to your questions if there's any doubt. So after this state variable, the second one we need is a list or an array of weapons, right? So there are many weapons, and turn by turn they come on the screen and are thrown at Aladdin, and he needs to dodge them. So we need an array to hold those, right? So use state, initially just an empty array. So at the start of the game, there are no weapons on screen. This means, okay. Next state variable to check if the game is over or not, right? When Aladdin collides with something, we'll set this variable to true. So set game over, initially false, right? I believe you already knew that. After this, the next one, I mean, this is easy to guess. Can you guess it? Obviously, the score of the game, okay? You can't make a game without a score. So set score, initially it starts at 0. We'll update it as Aladdin spends more time dodging in the game, okay? So these are the basic state variables we need to create. Let's return some markup first, okay? Let's create a div, div like this, and let's create another div, okay? And for now, let's just say Aladdin game. Let's save this, and we are already importing this in our app.jsx like this. Let me just remove these, right? And this and this, okay? So now let's see how this looks on screen. So here is our Aladdin game, right? So far so good. Now the next step, this will be very exciting. We need to populate our screen with the game visuals, okay? So we'll make it really cool. Just hang tight, and it will basically look like all the video games that you used to play in your childhood. If you had played Aladdin on like a NES or controllers, so it would be like that. So just hang tight, okay? Work with me. Now, on our first div, let's give it some Tailwind classes, okay? First is display flex and flex goal, right? We need to center it with item center vertically, justify center also horizontally, and then we need to give it a minimum height, which will do the entire screen. So this is not the game window, but the entire body, right? And then a background gradient, right? And 2D, okay? And it should go from blue 400 to blue 600, okay? So background gradient in Tailwind BG2B means background gradient to bottom, right? From top to bottom, and the color should vary from this shade of blue to this shade of blue. Okay. Oh, and this is how the Tailwind config file for my project looks. Just basics, nothing extended, just defining the JSX files. Okay. And then lastly, add a padding of 4. Okay. So this is our first div. Now inside of this div, let's give it class name and relative position, a width of, so this should be our game width. Okay, so our game width is 1100 px here, so that's what we'll give it. So 1100, and after that an h of 700 px, because that's our game height. And then we'll hide overflow, so overflow hidden, and then we'll make it rounded corners, so rounded LG. We'll give it some shadow, so shadow to XL, and we'll give some border, let's say 4, and the color of border should be yellow, 400. Okay, so this is our inventive style. Now inside of this we need to set the background image of our game setting, right? So Aladdin lives usually in a desert like region and is around the palace of the princess because he's going to save her. So we need to show a palace in the background. Okay, so we'll give it a style. Okay, first of all, like this. And now here we need to define a background image like this. And inside of this we'll pass a URL. Okay, now this URL, let's just say, will be, okay, so this is how so far it looks on our screen. Okay, so this is what we did. The first div is the blue one, the BG blue gradient for the body, and the inner div is the game window with the yellow border and a rounded radius. Okay, now this is the image that we want to set as the background. So let's just copy and paste this URL here. You can find this URL, you can just type it out, or you can find it in the GitHub repository as well. Now, after background image, we need to set the background size. We'll set it to cover so that it spans the entire screen. And then the background position. Okay, so now this will be important. Why will this be important? Because the background position needs to change to make it look like the Aladdin is moving horizontally by flying across the background. Okay, so we'll do backticks, and inside of this we'll do something like score px and 0. Okay, so this means as our score progresses, Aladdin's position moves forward. Okay, so the background, we are moving the background instead of moving Aladdin himself. Okay, so this is all the styles that we need for our background. Let's check it out in the browser. Okay, pretty neat, right? Looks good. So now we need to show Aladdin somewhere here and then show our weapon somewhere here. Okay, and a score at top and some instructions on the bottom. So this will populate now. Okay, so let's say score display. So here let's show the score. We'll create a div. Let's give it a class name quickly. Position absolute to make it at bottom or top. So we'll give it at top 4. We'll give it right, let's say about 4. The text size or the font size should be around 2XL. Now you can refer the Tailwind documentation, right, to verify what these values are. So for example, Tailwind font size, you have text 2XL is around 24px, right? So you can refer to the Tailwind documentation. So I'm just going through them, and then we'll give it a font bold and then text white to make it white, and a background of purple, so BG purple. After BG purple should be 900, sorry, E, and then we'll give it an opacity a bit, so BG opacity of 75, let's say, so 0.75, and a padding of 3, and make it rounded as well, rounded border, so rounded LG, and close the div. Now inside of this we'll just say score and display our score state variable like this. Sorry, not the dollar, just like this. So let's save this and check it out. So here is our score. Looks good, right? Pretty neat. Okay. Now, next thing we need to display is the Aladdin character himself. Okay. So this is our score div. Let's show Aladdin here. Now this will be very exciting. Let's create a div, give it a class name. Now we'll make it absolute. Okay, and we'll give some transition because Aladdin will always be moving up and down on the screen. So transition all, and the duration, let's say 100. Okay, now after the class name, we need to give some styles. Okay. So style, and style is to show Aladdin's position, right? To change the position based on user input. So we'll do transform. That's how you change. And then in backticks, we'll do translate. And here we need to pass our carpet position, the state variable .x coordinate and px, and then comma, and then our carpet position .y px, close the parentheses, and here we need to open a parentheses like this. So that's our transform. Next we need to give it a width. So the width of Aladdin's on the screen. So width will be, let's say, carpet size. Sorry. So width will be carpet size in px. And similarly, we need to show height, and height will be carpet size as well. Same, carpet size px. Okay. So this is our div. Let's close it. Now inside of here, we'll create another div, give it a class name of, let's say, relative, and width full and edge full. Okay. And here we'll display our Aladdin character. So we'll define an image tag and we'll give it as source image. So to display Aladdin, we'll use this GIF. Looks pretty funny, right? So we'll use a moving Aladdin image. It has a transparent background. So here let's just simply pass that, and alt will just say Aladdin. Always good to declare an alt tag because of accessibility, screen readers, and SEO. Okay. So class name, we'll give it width full, similarly edge full, and object to contain, right? The entire image should contain within this size. And then let's just close the image tag, save, and let's check it out. Yeah. Right. Looks good, right? So Aladdin is on the screen in front of a palace in a desert, flying. Okay. Now this looks pretty good with his genie lamp. Okay. Yeah, I just noticed that. I didn't even notice that myself. Okay. So let's move forward. Now Aladdin is on the screen, and that's all we need to do to display our game, right? For now. Now let's go and add some movement to our Aladdin character. So adding some keyboard features, right? So we'll need to create some state variables for this. So first one is whether Aladdin is moving up, right? So Aladdin will only be able to move up or down, right? So is moving up, set is moving up, which will be use state, and initially false. Sorry. Initially false, and the next variable, you guessed it, is moving down. Right, like this, also initially false. Now we need to listen for keyboard arrow down key. So we'll define a handler function called handle key down, like this, using arrow functions. But we need to, because this is user input, so this will be a heavy operation. So we need to make sure that this only runs if needed, if the position changes, right? So we'll define it using the use callback hook, right? Like this, which is imported like this. So inside of use callback hook, it takes an event, okay, and it returns. Inside of this, it will be a function. So here we need to check something. So if the event dot key, okay, which key is pressed by the user? So if the event dot key is called arrow up, okay, in this case we'll set is moving up to true. Pretty simple, right? And similarly, if the key pressed is arrow down, this is how you check for user input. and in that case we'll set is moving down to true. Okay, so that's all we need. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's all we need for this function, right? Now the second we need to define is called, second function is called handle key up, right? So again, in use callback event, we'll check if arrow up, right? Which means after the user pressed the key, the user has left the key. In this case, Aladdin should stop moving in whichever direction he's moving. So if the arrow key up was stopped pressing, we'll set the is moving up to false. And if the down one was stopped pressing by the user, then we'll set it to false as well. Okay. So these are our two handler functions. Now we need to define a use effect for this, right? Use effect like this. And in the array, we'll need to pass whether moving up is moving down and game over, right? So based on these dependencies, we'll run this use effect hook. Now inside of this use effect hook, we'll do a few things, right? So first of all, we'll check if game is over. So if game is over, we just return from this, right? Do nothing. Now if game is not over, we'll define a function first, const move interval. Okay, after how much interval should Aladdin move? So we'll do this with the set interval function, the default JavaScript function. This takes a callback like this and an interval. So let's pass an interval of 16. So that's milliseconds, I guess. Right. Now inside of move interval, we'll set our carpet position. So every 16 millisecond, set a new carpet position if there is a keystroke. Okay. So get set carpet position. Now this takes a previous argument, and inside of this we'll define a new y position. Okay. New y position should be the same as previous y at the start. After that, we'll define a move speed inside here, right? And move speed is initially 10 at the start of the game. Now, if Aladdin is moving up, right? If the direction is up, we'll change the new y variable. Okay, we'll change the new y variable. That's why we defined it with let, because we need to reassign it. Okay, so new y will do math.max and max of 0, which is the y coordinate, maximum of 0, which is the top of the screen. Okay, on your screen, 0 is at the top, right? Not at the bottom. So 0 and then previous y, whichever of these values is the maximum. When Aladdin is moving, the maximum he can move is at the top of the screen, which is 0, or the previous y minus move speed. Okay, so which means if Aladdin is at the center of the screen, let's say, then if he's moving up, we'll just minus 10. And the reason why we are decrementing is because the y coordinate is 0 at the top. Okay, so hope you understand that. And so this is the new y. Now if Aladdin is moving down, okay, similarly, let's copy and paste this. So if is moving down, in this case we'll set a new y. In this case we'll check for max.minimum. Okay, now the minimum is supposed to be the game height minus carpet size, which is Aladdin size, right? So this is the minimum size that we want, which means at the bottom and at least the height of Aladdin character, and then previous y instead of minus plus, and the move speed. So if Aladdin is moving down, we add the move speed variable to the current position. If moving up, we decrement it, right? And the max and min values are here. So this is our moving down, moving up logic, and then we just return. What we return our position or coordinate. So we create a new object by unpacking the existing coordinates, and then we update the y coordinate by setting the new y only. So we are only updating the y here, not the x, okay, because Aladdin can only move up and down. So this is here. And finally, we need to return the interval that we created, right? So move interval, or not return, we need to return a clear function so that we can clear it. So return clear interval, and inside of this our move interval, so that we can clear it after the use effect is run for performance benefits. Okay, so this is all to move our character. Now the second thing is we need to listen for our keystroke presses. So we need to define another use effect like this. Okay, and here the dependency array will have the two functions that we defined, which is the handle key down and handle key up. So whenever there are key presses, this use effect is run. Okay, now what does this use effect do? We need to just add event listeners. Okay, add event listeners for key down like this, and when there is a key down, call the handle key down, and similarly for key up and call handle key up. And that's it for this function. Now inside, after last thing, we need to return something. Okay, and what do we return from here? Can you guess? We return the same event handlers. So we clear the event handlers that we created. Okay, so we'll remove window dot remove event listener, yes, and key down. For key down, we'll remove handle key down, and similarly for key up, just key up, we'll remove the handle key up like this. Okay, so this is our movement function, and the rest of the code will remain the same. So let's try it out. I'll try pressing the arrow keys, and now down. Pretty neat, right? Aladdin is moving across the screen and continuously whichever direction you can go. So this is pretty neat so far. Now this final part, I would say, or the next important part, is adding the obstacles and the collision logic. Okay, so for this, let's go at the top. Here we need to define a few more constants. So we'll define first the initial speed of the game, which will be 8, and then the increment of the speed. So let's say speed increment, and we'll set it to 0.001. So very slowly the game should increase the speed. And then const spawn rate. So if you don't know what spawn is, spawn means just appearing. So spawn rate means the rate at which the obstacles or rocks will appear on the screen. Okay, so we'll define it as 0.04 for now. Okay, this is pretty fast actually, so this will be a challenging game. Okay, after this we need to again define some state variables. So we'll define const speed and set speed. Initially, I think you can tell it will be the initial speed constant. After this, we need to define not a use state variable but a ref variable. Okay, so we'll do game loop ref, and to define this ref we'll use the use ref hook. Okay, so this is how you import use ref, and inside of this use ref we'll just pass null. Okay, so this is how you declare a ref. After we declare the ref, we'll need to pass it to the game somehow. So we'll do that, but first let's write some logic code. So let's come down here, and here we need to write a use effect now. So this will be our main use effect because this will run our main game loop. Okay, so something like this, and a dependency array. And inside of this dependency array, we need to pass first of all game over state, the speed, the game speed state, the carpet position state, both x and y separately. Okay, so this is all our dependency array for this use effect. and let me just comment that this is our main game loop. This is what runs our game in infinite cycle until it's over. Okay, so inside of this now, this will be a long function, so hang tight. First of all, we check if game is over like the other functions. Okay, if game is over, we just return. Now if game is not over, we start a game loop ref, right? Game loop ref dot current will set an interval to this ref. Okay, so we use the set interval function. It will have a callback and an interval. So what will this interval be? So let's say 1000, which is 1 second, divided by 60. Okay, so now inside of this callback, first of all, for every interval we'll need to update the score. Okay, so we'll set a score, we'll take the previous one and we'll just increment the previous by 1. Okay, so the score continuously increments by 1. After that, as the game progresses, we also need to increase the speed to make it harder and harder for the player to play as the game progresses. So we'll take the previous one and just add the speed increment, which is 0.001. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? This is nothing advanced, nothing physics based, just common logic, common sense and math, simple math. Okay, after we have set the speed and score, we need to set the weapons, which will be shown on the screen. Okay, so we'll set weapons, we'll get the previous one. Okay, and after we get the previous one, we'll do a few things here. So we'll filter something, we'll create a filtered array. Okay, now previous dot filter, so the previous weapons array, we'll get that and we'll filter on that array, and for each weapon in that array, we'll check if weapon dot x is greater than weapon size. Okay, so weapon dot x is greater than weapon size, we'll check for that, which means that the weapon's x coordinate is greater than the weapon's width, which means the weapon is fully visible on the screen on the right side. Okay, now second we'll do moved and we'll do the filtered dot map. So we'll map over the filtered weapons array, and then for each weapon we'll return an object. Okay, we'll return an object. Now this object will be first of all the existing weapon, we'll unpack the existing weapon, and then we'll only update two properties. One is the weapon's x coordinate, so we'll do weapon dot x minus speed, which means we'll move the weapon horizontally towards left from right by the speed amount. Okay, and then we'll add some rotation to the weapon as well. Okay, to make it rotate circularly, so we'll do rotation. Okay, and weapon dot rotation, we'll define rotation, and the rotation will be changed by 5, so we'll add 5 to it. So that's how we create our moved array. After we have our move array, we'll check for a random value. Okay, so if math dot random is less than spawn rate. Okay, so randomly we'll check for our spawn rate, and if this condition is true, then we'll move our weapon on the screen. So we'll do moved dot push and the object inside of this, and we'll push another weapon to the moved array. Okay, so the x will be game width, which means the right hand side of our game window, and y will be randomly we'll select a y coordinate on the screen, so vertically, right? So math dot random, multiply this by game height, and for this we'll just add some more randomness, so game height and weapon size. Okay, So y coordinate will change for weapons, but the x coordinate will always be the right end of the screen. Okay. So this is how we insert a new weapon in the weapons array based on the spawn rate or spawn frequency. After we have inserted, we'll check for, now finally time to check for weapon collision with Aladdin and to end the game. Okay. So weapon detection, weapon detect code. Okay. So this will be a final piece of logic. Okay. And then our game should work. So for const weapon of moved, for weapon in the moved array, we'll create a variable first called horizontal padding. Okay. And we'll set it to 30. Similarly, a const top padding, we'll set it to 15, and then bottom padding, we'll set it to 30. Okay. So after we have created this, then we'll create again in the same array, we'll create a carpet box. Okay. Carpet box, and this carpet box is an object. So this has first of all a left, which will be weapon.x plus 10. Okay. And then a right, which is weapon.x plus weapon size minus 10. Okay. A top, which is weapon.y, you guessed it, weapon.y plus 10. And then finally a bottom, which will be weapon.y plus weapon.size and minus 10. Okay. So carpet box is the area which is occupied by Aladdin's carpet or Aladdin himself. Okay. So we defined that size and we have defined our weapons size. Okay. Now we need to check for overlap among this. Okay. So first let's define the weapon box as well, like the carpet box. So weapon box, and this will be an object, and this will have all these 4 properties as well, but we'll need to change it. Okay. Or actually, let's keep these values for the weapon box and let's update the carpet box. Okay. So for the carpet box, we'll use carpet position.x plus horizontal padding. Okay. Then for right, we'll use carpet position.x and plus carpet size minus horizontal padding. For the top, again carpet position.y plus top padding, and then carpet position.y carpet size minus bottom padding. Okay. So this is a carpet box, this is a weapon box. Both are defined. Now we need to check for overlap, right? So let's come here and define an if condition. Now if condition, first of all we'll check if carpet box dot left is less than weapon box dot right and carpet box dot right is greater than weapon box dot left and carpet box dot top is less than weapon box dot bottom. Yes, so we are doing reverse, and then carpet box dot bottom is greater than weapon box dot top. So these are our conditions. So now if this is true, then we define our overlap. How much overlap is there? Okay, so overlap x, and we'll check with math.minimum, the minimum value of carpet box dot right minus weapon box dot left, and the second one is weapon box dot right minus carpet box dot left, because the weapon is rotating, right? So we need to check whether there is an overlap between left or right of the weapon and Aladdin. Okay, and then similarly we need to define so we need to define overlap y like this, and here we'll check for bottom minus top and top, or rather bottom itself, bottom minus top. Okay, and after we have these overlap variables, now we check how much overlap is there. So overlap x is greater than 10, or let's just keep it 1. Okay, if overlap is greater than 1, or both in x and y, if it's greater than 1, which means Aladdin's image and the rock image are overlapping even a bit, then we'll set our game over to true. So this is our game over condition, and once game over is true, we'll stop playing some audio. So we haven't played audio yet, but we are going to play audio soon. And audio ref dot current dot pause. Okay, the pause function, and then after this condition is satisfied, we'll break. Okay, after this condition, after there is an overlap, we'll break the loop. Okay, so after this loop, I guess what we can do is we can return a clear function, a clear interval for this loop. Okay, so like this, we'll check if the game loop exists like this, and if it does, then we'll do clear interval and game loop ref dot current. Okay, so this is how we clear the loop, and this is that. Okay, and like I said, that we'll play some audio in the background as well, right? So let's define our audio quickly, nothing much. So first we define this audio ref. Let's go to our top, and below this ref we'll do audio ref, and again use ref and null like this. Okay, now this is defined. Let's define a use effect for audio. Okay, like this, and the dependency for this use effect will be empty, which means as soon as the game starts, the audio will start playing. So this will be an Aladdin theme, and this will be pretty nice. If you remember from games or movies, then it's a retro Aladdin theme. Okay, so audio ref.current, we'll set it to a new audio object. Okay, we'll create a new audio object, and we'll pass a path to our audio file. So for now, I have created an audio file in my public folder, and it's called /bg.mp3. You can find this file in the GitHub repository and download it from there. Okay, so audio ref.current is this. After we've defined, we start playing it. Okay, so audio ref.current loop, we start looping it. Current dot loop, audio ref.current dot loop, and we set it to true. Okay, wait, something is wrong. audio ref dot current equals this, and then audio ref dot current dot loop is this. Why is this like this? Is this not right? Audio ref. Oh, I missed the parentheses. Okay. So current dot loop, and after I've set the loop, let's start playing the music. So we'll define a function called start music. Okay, an arrow function. Inside of this, we'll just do audio ref dot current dot play. So we have defined that this audio should be played on loop, and it starts playing here. And whenever the document dot remove listener key down is there, okay, which means whenever the player first starts playing the game or presses any key on the keyboard, the audio will start playing. Okay, start music like this. So we are removing this listener, which means we need to create it somewhere. So we'll create it here, document dot add event listener, and we'll add on key down, and it will be start music. Okay, so after this, okay, remove this is wrong. After this, we just need to return a clear arrow function to clear the right. So if audio ref dot current exists, then we'll do audio ref dot current dot pause, right? We'll return a pause, and we'll do audio ref dot current, we'll set it to null. So when this needs to be destroyed, we'll first pause the audio and then we'll set it to null. Okay. So let's save this and let's check it out. Our game should be almost ready. I think one more thing, we need to set the game over screen. Okay, so let's go at the bottom of our JSX, somewhere here, or inside of this div, right, in the game div, and here we'll set our game over screen. So we'll check for the game over variable. Okay, now if this is true, we'll return some markup. Now this markup is div class name. Div class name, we'll give it absolute, inset of 0, a BG of black, some BG opacity, let's say 75, that is 0.75%, and then flex, item center. So if you haven't used Tailwind before, then I really recommend it, and because it's really simple to use and powerful as well. And justify center, close this div. Okay, and we'll do this. We need to create another div here, give it a class name, let's say text center, text white, padding of 8, background of purple 900, rounded borders, okay, and a shadow of 2 pixels. That's the inner div. Now inside of this inner div, we'll show an h2, give it some class name, let's say font size of 4 pixels, okay, and then font bold and margin bottom of 4. Now this should say something like game over. Okay, game over, and then a paragraph with class name, let's say font 2XL, margin bottom of 6, right? And this will show our final score, which will just be the score variable, like this. Save this, and we need to show finally a button to restart the game. So we'll do button, and then class name px6, py3, background of yellow 400, Then let's say text color of purple 900, text font size of XL, font weight of bold, and on hover we'll change the BG to yellow 300, let's say, and an animation for transitioning the colors, some shadow okay, and then finally an on click event on this button where we'll call the reset game function, right? And this should say play again, right? And after this screen, okay, we need to define the reset game function, but let's also show something else. We'll show the game playing instructions quickly. Okay, so the game playing instructions are basically a div with a class name, let's say absolute, bottom 4, we'll show it at the bottom, left 4, text color white, background color of purple 900, a background opacity of 75%, and a padding of 3, rounded borders, okay, and some shadow, right? So this is our instructions, and here we'll just say use the top arrow and bottom arrow. So I guess we can use emojis. Let's say this, use this, and okay, we can use this, and maybe for this use this and this arrows to move. Okay, so these are our instructions, let's say. Now what do we need to do is we need to define the reset game function, right? Okay, so let's define a reset game function here. We'll call reset game const reset game, and using arrow functions. Now here we'll set everything to the initial position, right? So we'll set the carpet position, X to 100, which was initial, Y to game height, right? Game height divided by 2, so at the center. Then we'll set our weapons array to be an empty array. We'll set game over to false, okay? And then we'll set our score to 0. And then we'll set speed to the initial speed, right? And finally, if audio is playing, we'll pause that. So if audio ref dot current exists, then we'll do audio ref dot current time, or we'll just go at the beginning, right? Current time dot 0, and we'll begin playing the audio again from the beginning. So dot current dot play. Our game should be ready now. Let's check it out. Okay, let's replay again. So these are our weapons, and you can see they are getting pretty fast. So you can see that they are getting fast as the game progresses, and our score is increasing. There is some instructions at the bottom, and let's see what happens when we collide. The game ends, okay, with a score, and we can play again. And this is the font, different font family, which is like Aladdin font style. Okay, let's play again. Pretty neat, right? Yeah. So this is it for this video. If you like this, please subscribe to the channel and let me know what kind of tutorials you want. Do you want more game tutorials or more software like tutorials? Please let me know and I'll build it for you, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.